This is Speak Up. I am Sandra Schulke. Welcome back to our show. I'm so glad that Dr. Gianni Pirelli has decided to come back to us. It's been a while.
It was a while.
Dr. Gianni Pirelli has established a program in the parish of St. Thomas More Church to support the caregivers of those suffering from the symptoms of dementia and to deliver a variety of activities to seniors to help them maintain their cognitive abilities. Today, Dr. Pirelli will be talking about how people can access the St. Thomas More Church's parish's caregiver dementia services. These services are free of charge. He will talk about how families already are benefiting from them. Welcome back to our show, Dr. Pirelli.
Glad to see you again after a long time.
Yes. Dr. Pirelli, I would appreciate your first telling our audience about Family Caregivers Support Program with a counselor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's St. Thomas More Church started these services just a few months ago. And why it's so important to have this kind of service just close to your house, in your neighborhood. That's okay even in your parish. Family caregivers do not have so much time. It's perfect to reach associations around the city where they can, of course, have a great support from a counselor. But at the same time, they need to save time and to have these services in their neighborhood because they are parishioners, so it's their neighborhood. It's very, very convenient. So
and I want to say, you don't necessarily have to be a parishioner of the church to avail yourself of the services that are being provided by the St. Thomas More Church.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sandra, to remind everybody that you don't have to be even a Catholic or Christians or a believer. We are absolutely open to everybody who unfortunately have to handle this situation. Yes, you're totally correct. And we had people even from other religions in the past. So we have a mental health counselor who basically leads these meetings and doesn't take it over, just leads. It's very important because basically we trigger the meeting with data or a video, but it's only the baseline. We really don't tend to take over the conversations. So what happens? Basically, the caregivers, the family caregivers who have at home a person with dementia symptoms, even if we open to a couple of people with relatives at home with psychiatric diagnosis, but it was an exception. Basically is for family caregivers of person with Alzheimer's. So what happens? Basically, between the family caregivers and the person, the mental health counselor, it's established a kind of bridge. A bridge where the family caregiver can talk and can get information. And why it's so important for them? It's important for them because whether or not they accept this, their social role changed because after you took care of your relatives for 8 years, even if you have 3-4 sisters and you used to talk with them, you cannot get the right feedback from your sisters anymore because your sisters are not experiencing this kind of calvary, this kind of experience. And who can understand what you want to share? Only other people who are going through the same experience. So they become your new bodies, but as long as you don't go, you don't attend these meetings, you don't know there are other people who could benefit from your experiences, and they could give you some tips. Because when let's do a couple of examples taken from the last meetings we had. One was about hiding things. When the patients hide things, how you have to handle the situation. Another one was about outbursts of anger. So you cannot share these experiences with your sisters waiting for a feedback, because your sister, even if they love you so much, they cannot understand what's going on. But another person can validate your experience, say, oh, it happened also to me. The other day she hid these things, I was not able to find, or my mother had an outburst of anger. So it's very important that you can exchange, get information on how to handle these situations, because some of the family caregivers already experienced what you started to experience. And from the other side, you can vent, you can talk, because these people need to talk a lot. And unfortunately, the social death, we talk about the social death of the patients in the other segments some months ago. What happened basically is that not only the patients has experienced a social death, but also the family caregiver. So he's very isolated, and the support group gives the opportunity to establish new relationship with new person, and unfortunately to validate your new social role, which is a family caregiver of person with dementia. At St. Thomas More Church, we started now another in 10 sessions, family caregiver support group, twice a month from January until the end of May, and you can join us every time, whenever. It's not necessary that you study from the first session. And we are at 89th Street between Park and Madison Avenue in Manhattan.
Say this again, where are you located?
Yes, the rectory of St. Thomas More Church is 65 East, 89th Street between Park Avenue and Madison. And of course, you can reach us through email. You can email info@caregivercare.org, and we can eventually. So this is very, very important service among other services.
So it's info@caregiver.org.
info@caregivercare.org.
Caregivercare.org.
Perfect. And I would say that it's the first service that we provide, which helps to break the loneliness and social isolation of the family caregiver.
It's so lucky that they know that there's some place where they can reach out and find someone else who might have a solution that worked for them, and also where they can, as you say, vent the problem, their frustration, perhaps.
Yes, you are totally right when you say vent, because they need to talk, and the duration of this meeting is from 1 hour and a half to 2 hours, even when there are only 4 family caregivers. So definitely the need to talk, to vent, to look for sympathy or compassion is strong. And lately, we also established a Latin dance class for the patients. If they, and not only for the patient, whoever wants to attend at the same time in the same rectory. So if someone is watching now and say, oh, I would love to come, but what about my loved one? Should he stay at home alone? No, that's not good for me. If it's possible for you, come with your loved one and we will be with him or her. In the meantime, you attend the support group.
What is a memory cognitive MOCA test?
Oh, that's a great. This is very intriguing service, Sandra, because MOCA test, MO stands for Montreal, C is cognitive, A assessment.
Uh-huh.
A neurologist from the School of Medicine of Montreal developed this tool, this test, and I mean, he was helped by other colleagues, but specifically one started this test, which I consider the gold standard around the world. To do what? Basically, the goal is to measure your cognitive and memory performance through some questions, okay? So I would say this, the MOCA test is a test, and to explain very clearly with a simple example, it's like when you measure the temperature. You don't have to be a doctor, and once you know what is your temperature, even if you have a high temperature, you have some data about the symptom. Temperature is a symptom, but you don't know the cause. You don't know the disease which caused the temperature. You can have some clue. So MOCA test is like to measure the temperature. Of course, you measure your cognitive and memory performance, and anybody can do that, like measure the temperature. Of course, it's better if you are certified to that. I mean, can make a doctor, medical doctor, or a family caregiver, but it's much better if you are certified. I am certified to do that. So the MOCA test is something that we provide at both locations, at Our Lady of Good Counsel, which is located in at 230 of 90th Street between 3rd and 2nd Avenue in Manhattan.
That's your other location where you provide the services.
Exactly. And we provide this test.
Again, that is Lady of Good Counsel.
Yes.
Church on 90th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue.
Yes. We have a room where we have our privacy. The test is confidential. And basically we provide from Monday through Sunday, even on Sunday, in English and in Spanish. And it's very important because at the end you have a score. And based on this score, the score is associated to a different possible level of dementia. We have to be clear about that. We don't have yet strong evidence that that score is associated at that level of dementia. But it's good to know that, for instance, that score is associated to moderate dementia, mild dementia, mild cognitive impairment, which is not considered dementia, but is not perfect performance, or you are totally sharp based on your score. It's very important to have this. And it's also very nice to see that so the test is based on some questions, and each question is related to a different brain function. That's very intriguing. So we have visuospatial executive, we have naming, we have short-term memory, recall after a while these words, we have orientation, concentration, abstraction. So we can associate the deficit to a specific brain function, just to give to the doctor an idea before to start every diagnostic protocol, what could be the part of the brain failing. Of course, again, the MoCA test is not enough to have a diagnosis at all, but it's very good. Why people come? I mean, we have been doing for the last 2 years more than 50 MoCA tests in both languages. Every 2 weeks we have one person at least. Why? Because when you turn 60 and you start to forget, which happens to everybody, even those who are 30, but because you are over 60, you get panic and you start to think about, oh, that's dementia, I have Alzheimer's, only because you forgot some names and you don't have a full knowledge of what's the difference between normal aging and Alzheimer's. Okay, you start to think, okay, I should go to the doctor. What doctor? Primary care, neurologist. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend that to an 80-year-old person if it's not strongly necessary. So if we measure the temperature and the temperature is perfect fine, why I should go to have a brain MRI, which is anyway a stressful, test for everybody. And the last thing I would say, the MoCA test takes 10 minutes, plus another 10 minutes to introduce each other, and another 10 minutes after the test to understand together what went well or what went wrong. And this is something that we provide for free, and it's again at St. Thomas More Church and even at our Little Good Counsel Church.
Next, would you please tell us, our member audience, about the Home Volunteers Program?
Yeah, a Home Volunteers Program is really something needed in this neighborhood. I mean, we cover basically Upper East Side in Manhattan and a little bit East Harlem, and now we have 13 volunteers available, and we are supporting 5 families. This program basically is based on the idea that volunteers go to the homes of persons with Alzheimer's, and they basically have the possibility to make companionship to them. They don't cook, they don't do activities which are essentials in their life, but for sure they can break the isolation of some of them. And who are them? And why do they need this kind of service? We have some person with Alzheimer's who are totally alone at home, no spouse, no children, with relatives, siblings around the other states. So it's we have, I'm talking about people in our program. We have a person with her spouse, her husband. We have another person with her daughter at home, just to give pictures of who benefit from this, who could benefit from this program. This person can have already some paid caretakers, or so the volunteers gonna be the ice on the cake. They could have no caretakers, paid or volunteers, so you basically start to help this person to have a contact, a bridge with the world. You could have a person a family where they don't want or they cannot afford a paid caregivers. So you could have all these kind of different situations, different patients and different family caregiver, where basically you go to support them in different ways. A family can benefit just from companionship, okay? Another person can benefit from going out with the volunteer. Another person can benefit from the fact that the volunteers just check if the person had a meal or drink. This is very important. I mean, this service, home volunteer program, can make the difference, and already did, in the lives of many patients. And it's a worldwide emergency that we need people at home for those who have Alzheimer, and much more in Manhattan in the United States, where basically the relatives are not necessarily in the same house or in the same city.
Right.
And this is absolutely very, very important. Just to end this description, I would say that we can have different kind of volunteers. Some volunteers come because they want to become paid caretakers, and other just come for ethical reasons. Other want to kill the time because they're retired. So we have to screen very careful and to understand if they are eligible. Then we have to do the we have to meet the family caregivers to understand if they match, and finally we will train them.
Mr. Pirelli, Dr. Pirelli, what would you like our audience to take away with them?
I would say that Upper East Side and East Harlem, specifically the neighborhood of the parish of St. Thomas More Church and Our Lady Good Counsel, can benefit from something unique. To have these programs for free.
For free?
For free, with professionals, because mental health counselor, whatever, we are all professionals, without leaving your neighborhood, not in healthcare settings. It's unique, it's priceless, and to be honest, this parish is the first on the earth which provides these services, as it's kind of revolution, because it's the future. The parishes, the synagogues, whatever you want to have in your community, shall to provide with some services related to the health, which even the healthcare organization want that they are provided in not healthcare settings, if you think of the MOCA test. So please, those who watch this program, this show, spread the word for those who live in this neighbor, that they can benefit from this program, which is unique and not repeatable for now in other places.
And if you want to get involved in the program, you can either just walk into the church and speak to
me. Yeah, all these activities are under the umbrella of caregiver care, and there is an office at St. Thomas More Church where you can find me, and we can start to understand how you can be supported and your family can be supported. So just come to 65 East of 89th Street.
Aside from that, I understand that you involve many of these people who have these problems in groups with normal people, so they do not feel isolated.
I strongly believe that that's the future. I mean, my dad, my mom, if they had Alzheimer's, I prefer they could be involved with their peers in not healthcare setting like the parish, which is safe, protect, where they can attend activities with other people who are healthier than them, don't have any kind of otherwise it's gonna be like a ghetto of those who are sick, and even the interaction will be very difficult. So all these activities we provide, neuroprotective activity which base our programs, they tend to provide for free to people over 60, who help without knowing that. They are not aware of the fact they are basically helping those who have these deficits to have free programs with peer healthy.
And some of these programs are?
We have Italian class, we have a bridge program. If you consider, just let me say this about the bridge program. You could have a person who unfortunately has Alzheimer's, who doesn't remember what had for breakfast in the morning, but because this person learned how to play bridge when she was younger, and the long-term memory is still functioning, of course much better than the short-term memory in the Alzheimer's, you could have this person in the middle of a game of bridge still playing, even if this person is not able to remember a lot about the last 24 hours. This is amazing because this is quality of life, and it's better to be with other people who basically can help the patients. And this is, this is, in my mind, it's like an aquarium, where the people with dementia are the fish, and the water is all the people over 60 healthy. So these red fish can swim because of the other people over 60 of the water. And this is a metaphor which could be really a paradigm for the future.
Dr. Pirelli, I want to thank you so much for coming back to our show. It's been a pleasure having you.
And Sandra, let me take this opportunity to thank Reverendo Father Madigan, who believed in these programs from the beginning and made it possible. Thank you so much for having me again.
You're
Sandra.
welcome. This is Speak Up. I am Sandra Schulte. Until the next time, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Goodbye.